What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the mid-season update for Season 3 is coming next week on May 10th. And today we got the blog post that outlines a bunch of the content and things that we can expect to see with that update. Keep in mind though, this blog post doesn't outline specifics like any weapon balancing changes that we may see. Now with this, there's also going to be a brand new raid for those that are interested in that. There's also going to be Warzone Ranked, as well as some changes to DMZ. I'm not going to be covering any of those in any detail because I only really care about the multiplayer side of things, and this is just a multiplayer channel. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, and without further ado, let's just dive right into it. The first thing for regular multiplayer is we are getting a new 6v6 map. This is called Alberon Hatchery, and this appears to be taking place on a section from the campaign, although it's probably slightly altered for 6v6 combat, and this is our first good look at it here. They did describe this as a medium-sized map, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot of verticality here. We've got like a little warehouse area for the inside area, as well as a lot of outdoor open space here. So aerial streaks are likely going to be fairly powerful on this map. And my very early initial impressions, just looking at this one image, it seems alright. It seems like a nice map. I kind of like maps that don't rely too heavily on a lot of verticality, and I feel like based on what we can see here, this will be a good addition to the game. As for the next thing that applies to multiplayer, this is Giant Infection, which is basically just going to be infected on the Ground War style maps, the bigger maps. And we did see something like this with Modern Warfare 2019, where they had like Ground War Infected, and in that, the infected players also got some special abilities like a super jump, for instance, and the ability to kind of stun enemies that are really close by. They didn't really mention any details on this, and as far as we can see based on this image, it just looks like regular infected players, so I'm not too sure if the infected are going to have any special abilities here, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Then we're also going to be seeing 3v3 Faceoff, and this is going to take place on the gunfight maps, so the really tiny maps that they introduced with Season 3, and this also includes Shipment, by the way, and it'll just be a 3v3 respawn game mode, just like we saw back in the Modern Warfare 3 days. I think this is going to be fairly popular. I feel like the size of these maps would really suit 3v3 well. I know many people would likely want to see a higher player count, but we'll just have to wait to see how 3v3 plays out first, and if it feels like it could support more players, perhaps we could see a 6v6 face-off, kind of like we saw in Black Ops Cold War. That would make for an amazing alternative for the Shipment-style players that just want that constant chaotic action. They did mention with this face-off though, it will be team deathmatch and kill confirmed, and we will be able to use our own custom loadouts, unlike Gunfight. Now, moving on, also focusing on multiplayer here, they are going to have another one of those mini events for the second half of Season 3, where we're going to have the opportunity to earn 2 new sets of weapon camos. And this is going to be quite similar to what we saw with Season 2 Reloaded. They gave us the list of challenges for this event, so for assault rifles for instance, you just have to get 250 operator kills with assault rifles in order to unlock a camo for all of your assault rifles. However, they're not all the same. You can see with SMGs, you have to get 3 operator kills without dying 30 times. With shotguns, it's 30 hipfire kills, so there is a little bit of variety there. And when you complete each one of these challenges, you will get the camo for that entire category of weapons, and then if you complete all of these by the time Season 3 ends, you will get another camo that will apply to all of the guns, as well as a special weapon charm that shows that you completed this. And for me personally, I actually love the addition of these mini events. Regardless of my thoughts on the rest of the game and how it can often get boring and there's a bunch of changes I'd like to see, I think this is something that Modern Warfare 2 is doing a good job with, and that is providing these events for those players that just want something to work toward all the time, and maybe they've already completed the Orion camo, for instance. I think this is just an excellent way to engage those players, and it's totally optional at the end of the day. But with that, let's now move on to the new weapons that are coming with Season 3 Reloaded. The first one is the FTAC Siege handgun, which is based on the Tech 9, and this is going to be a full auto pistol. It is in the pistol category, even though it looks a lot like an SMG, and will apparently have a lot of SMG-like attachments to it. And they do mention here it's going to be very high mobility, as well as have a fast swap speed, but we won't have the ability to dual wield these, at least not yet when they first come. And in order to unlock this one, all you need to do is get 50 sidearm hipfire operator kills using handgun. So while most of the pistols are great at hipfiring, I just recommend going with a single snake shot basilisk and just use hipfire attachments on that as well as range attachments in order to get these kills quickly. As for the next one though, this is the GS Magna, which is just a full auto Desert Eagle. And this one is going to have a whole lot of power, I assume a ton of recoil as well, and they did mention you will have the ability to use this akimbo, unlike the previous one I just mentioned. And in order to get this one unlocked, you have to get 30 headshot kills using the 50 GS. And with that, you can do that in either hardcore game modes or honestly just stick to core game modes because you can still get that one-shot headshot, whereas the other guns won't be killing you in just one bullet, unlike hardcore. But yeah, it really shouldn't be that difficult to pull off that challenge. And then finally, for new weapons, we are going to be getting the throwing star, which was apparently available in Resurgence for a short period of time, but it hasn't been available in regular multiplayer. And with this, it's actually quite interesting. Initially, I was thinking this is just going to be a reskin of the throwing knife, and it's basically just going to be the same thing. However, the throwing star is actually going to work different from a throwing knife. With this, apparently you'll be able to throw them faster, with a longer range, so I think they're going to have a flatter trajectory as well. And it also mentioned you're going to have a higher stock value, so you're going to actually be able to carry more of these than throwing knives. However, the downside to these is they aren't a one-hit kill unless you hit the enemy in the head, but they also mention if you do hit an enemy player with this in the body and it doesn't kill them, it will apply a wounding effect, which gives you a greater chance of success for a follow-up hit. And honestly, I think this is going to be an interesting addition to the game. I'm excited to check them out and see how they perform. I kind of like the fact that it's not just a throwing knife reskin. This is truly a new throwable piece of equipment that will work unlike anything else we have in the game. And in order to unlock these, what you're going to need to do is get 50 kills using a throwing knife. Now with that, for a lot of people, Infected will be the way to go to get those throwing knife kills a little bit easier without worrying about harming your stats if that's something you're worried about. However, of course, you could just hop into Shipment or even the new Faceoff modes, and I'm sure you could get a lot of quick throwing knife kills there as well. And with that, that's pretty much everything we can expect to see that will directly affect the gameplay for regular multiplayer in Modern Warfare 2. They did also outline a bunch of new cosmetics and stuff that are coming, because of course that's far more important than the gameplay anyways for them. And the one interesting one here that I wanted to point out is Kevin Durant is actually going to be coming as an operator, and I'm sure many people will be excited about that. For me, I still think it's crazy to spend that much money on cosmetic items in a video game that typically only last 1 year anyway, so there's no chance I'm spending any COD points on these, but I just thought that was interesting to point out. As for my thoughts overall, from a multiplayer perspective on this Season 3 Reloaded update, based on what we're seeing so far, honestly, it seems like a pretty standard Reloaded update, and about what we would expect to see for a mid-season update in Call of Duty. I'm definitely excited to see another 6v6 map in rotation. The more map content, the better. I hope that map plays really well. I'm also excited to see a couple new pistols, and honestly, I'm really interested in checking out that throwing star as well. It seems like it could be a lot of fun and quite a unique throwable piece of equipment that we've never really seen before in a Call of Duty game. Now, of course, I am also curious to see if they're going to be making any adjustments to the game, and this is stuff that we would likely find out as we get closer to the update. I'm talking things like weapon balancing or maybe some perk adjustments, as well as bug fixes. I am really hoping they get on top of the latency bug, because since Season 3 launched, apparently I've had the best connection ever at just a 1 millisecond ping, but that's obviously not the case in the game, and I would love to be able to see what my actual ping is when I'm playing a first-person shooter, because that's just simple, basic functionality that should be existing in any online FPS game. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts on Season 3 Reloaded, and this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. Are you generally happy with this content and items that we'll be seeing for Season 3 Reloaded, or not so much? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.